All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to be really respectful of everyone's time and hold this meeting to 1 hour, especially because I think we have third grade coming down to check out books at 11 o'clock. So we want to be really respectful of the library's time as well. Welcome, everybody, and to many of you, welcome back. I think a lot of you said they haven't been in the building in 50 years, so welcome back. We're excited to have you here. I'm Dave Pelzett. I'm the superintendent here in the district. This is my 9th year in the district, so I spent a lot of time really listening, understanding, getting to know the community. Obviously very proud of the work that we've done, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of that work here in a second. Our format for today is I want to spend about 30 minutes talking a little bit about our plan, our vision, how we expect to possibly fund that plan and vision, and then leave about a half an hour for questions. The way I've kind of worked it out is about 20 minutes for questions for the people who are live, and about 10 minutes for the people who are Memorex who are at home. So we've got some people watching either remotely from home or work, or that couldn't be here live. But as we jump into the presentation, just kind of a disclaimer. We're still in the planning phase, right? So we just ran the Chicago Marathon last weekend. We're at like mile 7 out of 26. So we're still kind of working through the plan. We're getting feedback. We're in that kind of community engagement phase. When schools do two things, we are responsible for most people's two most prized possessions: your kids and your property. Right? And maybe not necessarily always in that order, depending on how old your kids are, what phase they might be in. For me, the property would come first with my teenagers. But, and we realize that there may be some emotion, there may be some passion around this plan. And what we want to do is we want to be really, really hard on the facts, really, really hard on what you may see as the problem, but let's be easy on the people. We all have really good intentions, and we really want to do good things for kids here. And I think we have a history of doing that. So hard on the facts, easy on the people. So I am going to jump right into it. I want to talk a little bit about our agenda for today. We've tried to set this up in a pretty logical way, where we're going to walk through kind of a little bit of the past, a little bit of the present, and then a vision of the future. And when we think about what leadership is, leadership in its purest sense is creating a shared vision, putting a plan together to realize that vision, and then marshaling people around that vision to make it a reality. And that's kind of where we want to go with this. So this is kind of the chapters of this story, if you will. I'm not going to ask you to read all of this, but this is kind of our elevator pitch, right? The main crux of this in each paragraph, so that first paragraph we're looking at building a third campus, which would reintroduce full-day pre-K for 3 and 4-year-olds to the district, and removing barriers to pre-K. Right now we have a tuition-based program, and our goal would be to remove that barrier to pre-K, and to also remain a leader in this area. I'm going to talk a little bit about our past and some of the work that we've done around pre-K, maybe recognize some of the people here who have done some great work in helping us develop our pre-K program. The second paragraph talks about the reconfiguration that we would have a pre-K through 1st grade campus. The elementary school would be 2nd through 5th. So right now our 5th graders go off to the middle school, and that's a little bit like kind of shoving a square peg into a round hole. Doesn't fit great for those 5th graders. They could use an additional year of elementary school, and then our middle school would be 6th through 8th. Safety is also at the center of our plan. There are some safety upgrades that we'll talk about a little later in this, and then improved curricular programming at both schools as well. And of course, any future programming, any future construction or buildings would require voter approval, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. All right, so just a little bit of kind of background. We started talking about this in 2021. We had some focus groups. And it was kind of right in the middle of COVID, so we had online focus groups at each grade level. We had a town hall meeting with community members. We had some meetings with staff. And from that, we had some recommendations. Safety obviously was number one, to continue to enhance the safety of the schools. Looking at being a leader in that early childhood realm, which is where that idea for the Early Childhood Center kind of was born. And then improvements to things like STEM and art and some of the specials that we offer at our middle school. So again, we're going to get a little bit more into detail on that. We've spent some time kind of confirming those priorities, talking to parents, talking to community members, planning, working with our architects, working with our staff to kind of figure out what these new possibilities could look like. And we're right here in the yellow at the community engagement piece where we're listening, we're refining, and we're making adjustments based on what we hear. All right, a little bit about the district, and I got to tell you, this is my favorite slide out of all of them, and some of you may have seen this, and I apologize if you're watching it again, but it's 2.5 minutes. Our district won a National Blue Ribbon for the elementary school in just a few weeks ago. It was announced. So we created a short video that kind of celebrates some of the work that we've done. So I want to try and show that. Easy. So we'll go ahead and see if we can make that work. It is an award that is really given very sparingly and to only the best of the best.
It's the ultimate recognition that you can receive, so it's a huge deal.
To receive this type of recognition on a national level, there are no words.
We are an academic excellence nominee, and I can't tell you how excited we are to win this award. I mean, we have been working toward this for several years.
It makes me incredibly proud of the work. I see the work that our teachers are doing day in and day out. There is no stone left unturned when it comes to solving a problem for a student and helping to provide what each child needs. There is no one-size-fits-all here.
The work that our teachers do to make sure that our students are successful is nothing short of amazing. 6 years ago, we put a new math curriculum in place, and it changed everything for math instruction for us. Our teachers bought in. We did some very serious long-term professional development and coaching. We have really solid teachers who really understand how to teach kids to read and write and speak and listen and critically think. That's really come a long way too.
I think it's imperative that we have a community within our school where teachers are driven to be their very best, where we create an atmosphere where students want to be here, where parents are excited to send their students to school and support us at the home.
So here in Pleasantdale, our last National Blue Ribbon was for the elementary school, and it was back in '97. So you're looking at almost 30 years between winning this award. We believe this is something that will increase the value not only here in our schools, but it'll increase property value for our community. It'll increase our status as an excellent school within our state, and we want our community to realize how proud we are of the work of our teachers and our administrators and our students. This is really a combined effort of students, parents, teachers, administrators, the school board, everybody coming together to do what's right for kids, and winning the award really is a validation of that hard work. So again, just some other kind of recognition that the district has received. In addition to the Blue Ribbon, we've been named, last year we wore U.S. News and World Report's Best Middle School and ranked Best Middle School and Elementary School. We routinely have teachers who are nominated for Golden Apple Awards and often are finalists for that honor. From a leadership standpoint, our board has received the highest recognition from the Illinois Association of School Boards. I've received the Superintendent of Distinction for West Cook. Griffin Sontag has been Principal of the Year from Illinois Principals Association. Our Assistant Superintendent, Jennifer Band, has received the Herman Graves Award, which is the highest award given to that role that she fills. We've always hit financial recognition from both the Illinois Association of School Business Officials and from the Illinois State Board of Ed. Just some additional fun facts. Our niche rating is a 10 out of 10, which I know sometimes is the most important rating as people are looking at homes. Both schools are now 10 out of 10. Our kindergarten received an award from the Illinois Green Alliance for some of the work around composting and our butterfly garden out back. And this is just a fun fact. The was a few years ago, our fifth graders worked with legislators to have a state rock. And so here they are with Governor Pritzker signing that into law, that we now have a state rock. It's Dolostone, by the way, if anybody's keeping track. Dolostone is now our state rock. When we look at the enrollment of the district, it's important to note that this is our current enrollment. This does include our preschool numbers, where when our demographer does our kind of demographic study, what he does is he looks at birth rates. And Series A is if birth rates go down. Series B is if birth rates stay the same or fertility rates stay the same. And Series C is if they go up. These numbers do not include preschool, but the analysis I've done is kind of what I like to call students through the door, right? So we have 820 students coming through the door. If you subtract our preschool, which again, you're not required to have preschool, we'd probably be in the Series B area. But when we consider that we do offer a preschool, we have this year 820 students. Just a little bit of academic kind of feedback and some information on how we do academically. Again, this is based on what's called the Illinois Assessment of Readiness. For those of you who have been around a while, it may have been called PARC or ISAT or IGAP. But it's the state test. As you can see here, we have 70 students meeting and exceeding, 70% of our students meeting and exceeding in ELA, 62% math, and you can compare that then to our other Lyons Township high school feeders, which really, when you look at the results that we're getting, and we're going to talk about tax rates in a second, we actually have we have the lowest tax rate in the township, one of the lowest tax rates in the area, and some of the best results. So we're pretty proud of that academic work. And we also have seen where many of these districts have seen a drop off due to COVID, we actually either stay flat or our numbers actually increase. Another piece of information that I think is important, when the students leave us, how do they do? So we know we do a great job when they're here with us. We do a freshman preparedness survey, and LT helps us implement this and make sure that all freshmen take this survey. Now, it's something that's important to recognize in this data. This first number is a self-report, right? So we have a bunch of 15-year-olds who we ask them, how well prepared do you feel for math, for English, for science, and for history? And we had 91, 89, 88, and 92% say that they feel either well prepared or they essentially feel well prepared for those four areas. Now, this is information we get directly from LT. The grades are not self-reported. So 91% of our students are getting A's and B's in math, 90% A's and B's in English language arts, 84% A's and B's in science, and then here in history we have 80% getting A's and B's. But I also think this is important to note as well, that in time management and study skills, 73 and 78% of students rated themselves as well prepared. And again, my personal opinion is the greatest gift we can give to kids are those executive functioning skills, how to study for a test, how to take a project and break it down into parts and complete it. Like, those are skills that are going to transcend well beyond middle school, high school, college. Those are the things that are really going to show success. So we're really proud of those results. For our next chapter, I want to talk very briefly about some of the importance of early childhood education, just to clarify some of the kind of words, some of the jargon that you'll hear. Early childhood education is really that developmental stage from birth to age 5, can push all the way to age 6, where we're specifically targeting students for that particular developmental level. And then universal pre-K is the expansion of preschool opportunities so that we reach those kids. And again, that removal of barriers to high quality early childhood programming. This is one of my favorite slides because the district really has been a leader. Back in the 50s, I think, is when they started kindergarten, which was not a common thing back in, it was 52 or something like that they implemented kindergarten. Back in 97, and actually Tom Ara was on the referendum committee that helped get that passed. So thank you, Tom. Due to that successful referendum, we were able to implement an early childhood program for our 3 and 4-year-olds. In 2015, the board decided to remove barriers to full-day kindergarten, and we no longer charge a fee for full-day kindergarten, where we did in the past charge for that second half of the day. So, and talk about being ahead of the curve. full day kindergarten was just mandated, and it's supposed to take place, it has to be implemented by 2027. Our district was about 15 years ahead of the curve on that one. So again, this is kind of the next progression in that work. That transition from ECE or early childhood to kindergarten. Generally, we have kids who participated in our program, so our high quality academic program, but we also have kids that have come with a variety of different experiences. And we find that we spend quite a bit of time working through and helping those kids to catch up to where some of our students who participate in a high quality program were at. Again, I'm not going to go through and read all of these to you. You're able to. So the benefits of universal pre-K, and again, you can read these, but to me the most important one is the benefit of early intervention. Being able to intervene when you see learning differences with a 3-year-old is very different than intervening when that child's even 5 or 6 years old. So being able to implement that early intervention is really important. And I have this kind of little statement that I put together where universal pre-K can drive changes in kindergarten and then the elementary grades beyond that. When all or most children enter kindergarten with the benefits of high quality pre-K, kindergarten and elementary teachers are able to change their curriculum and teaching practices to build on what the kids already know. They have those academic skills. They've been exposed to a classroom. They can accelerate a child's learning. But when only some children have attended that preschool, they spend their time working through and catching those other children. So again, it kind of brings everybody to that same level. And again, talk about removing barriers to pre-K. This is another great slide that talks about benefits to the community in regards to universal pre-K. And we did a little bit of research, and I actually have a testimonial from an economist from the Upjohn Institute at the end of, I figured we start with a video, we'll end with a video, where he talks about some of not only the academic benefits, but some of the financial benefits to the community. So schools or homes that are within 2 miles of a school generally have between 18 and 13% higher property value. You can expect at least 5 to 10 increase in lifetime earnings for students that have participated in universal pre-K. Again, this is my favorite. That early intervention requires fewer special ed services later, and actually allows us to have a tighter budget because we don't necessarily need to spend that money on special education services. There's a $4 to $9 return on every $1 spent, and those are societal measures. And I put that on there just because I think it's an interesting fact, but those are things like fewer families or fewer people on government assistance, fewer people who are involved in the penal system. I think on a small scale, we probably wouldn't see that. This is more when a state or a country implements something like that, but I thought it was an important fact to have on there. And then this is the one where the economist from the Upjohn Institute will talk, Dr. Bartek, that for each dollar that is in annual spending that is spent on high quality pre-K, you can expect, it's a reasonable expectation that it will increase your property value by $13. So that ROI of $13 for every dollar spent. Just a real quick slide about our current program. So we do currently have a pre-K that serves 3 and 4-year-olds. We have 2 classrooms, so 2 a.m. and 2 p.m. We have 52 students currently in the program. We have a blended model, which means we have both special education students and typical students in the same classroom. We have a multi-age model, so you have 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, and the thought process behind that is those 4-year-olds really help support the 3-year-olds when it comes to understanding academic behaviors and things like that. And then we also offer related services like OT, occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech, social work. So as we talk about the vision, and this is where that leadership piece comes in, the vision is to build a 3rd campus, an early childhood center, and looking at having that developmentally appropriate space for our pre-K through 1st graders. We have some tuition options, right? So as we continue this conversation around what this would look like, do we offer tuition-free, full day, or do we say, you know what, we're gonna offer universal pre-K for a half day, and we want our families to have a little bit of skin in the game, so if you want full day, we would require a tuition for the second half of the day, similar to what we had done in kindergarten back in 2015, prior to 2015. And again, there are some community benefits that come along with that. More collaboration with partners like LADSI, which is our special education co-op, the Park District, local villages. Obviously, we talked about the improved educational outcomes and property values and things like that. Part of the vision is to reconfigure the schools so that we have the elementary school serving 2 through 5, 2nd through 5th grade, and the middle school 6th grade. It's interesting, I had a conversation with someone who's a retiree and has now come back to do some subbing for us, and she said, you know, I think the best part of your plan is having those 5th graders stay at the elementary school for an additional year. They're just not quite ready for the middle school yet. So she was actually here when they implemented the pre-K, and they always said, well, if we need to move the 5th graders back, we'll just get rid of the preschool, which no one wants to get rid of preschool. We're not saying we want to do that, but I thought it was an interesting perspective from someone who's kind of been there, done that, so to speak. Again, some of the benefits for students is we've got some extra space for future growth. It's interesting that in the state of Illinois, the population is actually starting to decline and has been declining. I actually heard a study that said it's leveled out and they expect it to start growing, but our area has actually grown. Our population continues to grow. Houses are turning over very quickly. And then obviously some improved curricular alignment. And again, we've talked about that 5th grade and that developmentally appropriate 5th grade, but we'd also, as we if we were to have the 5th graders stay at the elementary school, we'd want to make sure that they also receive that robust science experience. So we would look at creating a science lab here, that not only the 5th graders could use, but all students could have a much more robust science experience here at the elementary school, and then updating those special spaces at the elementary school. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a future slide. So again, some of the planning that we've done up to this point. So I talked a little bit about the focus groups and the town halls that we had, and this is really kind of the list of things that came out of that. I've talked pretty extensively about that, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. We did look at kind of the site requirements if we wanted to move in the direction of a 3rd campus, and so we would need about 6 acres in order to make that work. The current plan is for about a 53,000 square foot building, 22 classrooms, obviously having a gym, lunchroom, library, and meeting spaces. The one thing that is unique about an early childhood center is you need a lot of space for pickup and drop off, because kids, you don't just kind of like pull up to the curb, open the door, and let them out, right? Each child individually has to be taken out of the car and brought into the building. So I'm going to talk actually on this slide about some of the investigation we did prior to settling on this plan. But we really looked at, could we build an addition onto this building in order to meet the requirement? And the fact of the matter is we're pretty much landlocked. The district owns the footprint of the building. Everything else is owned by the Park District. I know there's some space out here. That is a floodplain, and it's just not buildable. It would do one of two things. Either it would be underwater or it would create a flood situation for all the houses that surround it. So this building is pretty landlocked. The middle school has a bit of space, and it's just not enough for the plan that we're looking at moving forward. We even looked at picking up the district office, moving that building to another space, and then building on to the middle school, and it's just not enough space. It still wasn't enough space to be able to do that. We did work with our Pleasantdale Park District. I know that they own 7 acres right here off of Willow Springs Road, and I don't want to bring up the nastiness that happened with LT and all of that, but after that kind of all happened, the Park District just said, we're going to take a pause on this. We don't want to move on this property at all. And we understand that, we respect that, but that doesn't mean we stop our work either. We look for other solutions. So our goal, we'd love to be able to build kind of real close in proximity to the elementary school. It just wasn't in the cards for us. So we looked at several properties, and I think one of the things that is difficult is that there aren't many spaces that work for building a school. We need, like I said, at least 6 acres. It needs to be flat. It needs to not be in a floodplain. It needs to have some of the infrastructure pieces in place. And these are some of the properties that we looked through. Either they were too expensive and just wasn't financially appropriate. There wasn't enough buildable space. So this property, Castelmi property, is 10 acres. Only 4 of it is buildable. The rest of it is in a floodplain or has a little creek running through it and isn't buildable. Or it was logistically difficult. The road infrastructure wasn't there for us to be able to support a school. So this County Line Road property, which I'm going to show you here in a second, it was a location within the district, flat topography. It had that basic utility and road infrastructure already in place. And again, the seller agreed to make the sale contingent upon a successful voter initiative. So if it either doesn't go to referendum, or the voters say not right now or not the right plan, then we're out of the contract. This is the property right here. So we have it's between German Church Road and 87th. You got your site right here. Some people were asking, this is a 5-acre plot that is also for sale. This is not part of our plan. This is an additional 5 acres that is from a different seller. But this is actually owned by Pleasantdale alum. The parents owned it, they passed it on to their children. And the children, we approached them to see if they'd be interested in selling, and they were like, oh, we're really excited about Pleasantdale West. So for those of you that remember, this as south and the middle school is north. This is kind of a very rough structure, a very rough drawing of what the building would look like. You can see we have classrooms for early childhood and kindergarten, first grade, and then also 2 LADSI classrooms, which would allow us to make sure that our students, our preschoolers who may be outplaced, would be able to still go to school here. And then obviously things like offices, gyms, cafeterias, all of that is here. And it's nice because when you have evening events, or you have events during the day, much like this one, you can kind of block off the academic wing, so people can't necessarily be walking through the academic wing. It helps you to block it off. It's just a nice safety feature. This is what it would look like on the road or on the property. One of our goals in this design is to really address any traffic issues. We don't want cars queuing on County Line Road. We don't want to create a traffic issue for the neighbors or anyone else, either on this side of County Line or on our side of County Line. So we have a nice, large pickup and drop-off areas and several couple different pickup and drop-off areas. We also have one entrance and one exit, so it's not like the elementary school that has one way in, one way out. So again, that's been an issue here. We want to make sure that we had at least one entrance and one exit, and plenty of room for cars to queue on our property and come off of County Line Road. The other thing we do to address traffic is to have a staggered start. So the kindergarten and first graders would start at, let's say, 8:15, and the preschoolers would start closer to 9 o'clock. So you're kind of separating things out. You just don't have as much traffic all at once. We talked a little bit about some of the proposed changes to the 2 existing schools. Looking at safety upgrades, one of the things we need here, we have several classrooms that only have one exit, so we look at creating a second exit if, God forbid, there were a reason where kids had to get out of the building quickly. That's really difficult on the second floor, so we'd be looking at a series of doors that would spill right into a stairwell, and kids and teachers can get out of the building quickly. Doing a refresh to our bathrooms. Our bathrooms are pretty original to the building. I think this building is 60 years old. This is the 60th birthday, so making those a little bit more accessible. Small group workspaces for teachers, and then renovating the science lab to make sure that our classrooms were ready for 5th graders, and then we would add that science lab and improve in science instruction for all students. At the middle school, again, more security upgrades. Bollards at entrances, those are like, if you've ever seen like a federal building, they have those big kind of metal or cement poles by an entrance, and I know it seems a bit macabre to talk about. Someone can't necessarily drive a car through that. So we don't currently have those, so we would look at creating that barrier. Secured entrance at double buzz. Right now, if someone gets buzzed into the office, they can run past and get into the building, so they have to get buzzed into the actual building. Upgrades for STEM, art, our specials there. Our refreshing the outdoor play area right now at our middle school. The kids have recess in a parking lot. It always made me nervous. I didn't love that they were playing kind of football and playing their games in a parking lot. Also some outdoor seating and lunch space for kids. And then the APR cafeteria refresh. Right now we have a cafeteria that still has the old stage in there, and it's just wasted space. So let's get rid of that and make that into usable space. So a little bit about how we'll fund it, right? So just an overview, our revenues generally come from property taxes, about 93% funded from property taxes. We only get about 7% from the state and federal government, and about 86% of the money that we receive through property taxes goes right back to kids through salaries, benefits, supplies, things like that, right directly into the classroom. Just I want to kind of Griffin Sontag is our business manager. I'll kind of toot his horn that we've done a really nice job in the business office. This board, previous boards have also made sure that we've abated taxes, which is a fancy way of saying we've lowered the tax rate when we were able, to the tune of between $7 and $8 million over the course of the last several years. So essentially bringing that tax rate down. We always have balanced budgets, highest financial ranking from our state board, and that we have the lowest tax rate in the Lyons Township and the third lowest tax rate in all of our LADC districts. I'm going to talk about that in just one second. So just terms to think through. Capital improvements, those are one-time things. When we build a building once. When we improve safety, we improve that with that safety piece that we improve, we do it once. And that is, we're going to talk about how we would fund that. And then operating costs are done. Those are things like staff salaries and transportation. Those are ongoing costs. Our proposal is to pay for the building through bonds, where we would require voter approval. Essentially, it's like a mortgage. You sell bonds, you have 20 years to pay it back, and that would be done through a referendum and a bond sale. The operating funds, which is the cost of the teachers, the transportation, the food service, all of that, we believe we can pay for that through our current budget. This is just an overview of some of the costs that we're looking at. Again, this would be the part that we would pay for through bonds. This would be the part that we would take care of through our own operating budget. So the what is a $38.2 million issuance of bonds. And I'm going to talk a little bit, I'm going to get into a little bit more detail of that. I know there's a little bit of jargon there. And the why would be to purchase land and build the early childhood center and make improvements to our current schools. When we look at the tax investment for the general population, what I've done here is created, we've had bond counsel help us with, if you have a $100,000 home, $300,000 home, $500,000, $750,000, and $1 million home. Generally, we're somewhere between this $500,000 and $750,000, and I think it's important to note that it's the property value that's on your property tax bill, not necessarily what you can get on Zillow, right? Or what Zillow says your home is worth. Generally, and I know it seems weird, but tax bills are public, so I've gone through and I've looked at a bunch of tax bills. Generally, what's on the tax bill is lower than what you can get on the open market. So I know some of me may be saying, my house is worth $500,000, and I have no doubt that you can get $500,000 for your house. However, on your tax bill, it may only be $315,000, which again would put you closer to this number. And this is the annual tax impact for the year, and this is what it'd be on a monthly basis. Okay. Again, I've talked a little bit about our position as far as a taxing body in relation to our peers. So these are our LADC districts. These are the districts that are members of the Special Education Co-op. The Lyons Township districts are 103, 102, 105, 106, and 101. Right now, we are the lowest in the Lyons Township and the third lowest of all LADC member districts. If this were to go to referendum, and if this were to pass, we would still retain our position as the third lowest and the lowest in the Lyons Township. So again, there is a tax impact, but it doesn't necessarily move our position from, kind of here over to this end over here. And then I started with a video, so I want to end with a video. And this is Dr. Bartik, who we worked with to help us understand the tax impact and some of the benefits for students and benefits for the community.
Hi, I'm Tim Bartik. I'm a senior economist at the Upjohn Institute for Employment Research, which is a nonprofit and nonpartisan research organization that does studies on how to improve the U.S. labor market. And my research includes studies of how preschool affects the U.S. labor market. And what we know from those studies is that universal preschool helps both low-income children and middle-class children. It not only improves their test scores while they're in school, but also improves their career earnings. And we know that their future career earnings due to universal preschool will, on average, go up by 5 to 10%. One spillover benefit of that is it increases property values. And based on research, a reasonable conclusion is that for every dollar in annual spending by a school district in universal preschool, property values in the community will go up about 13 times as much. Why does that occur? Well, parents know that their kids benefit from universal preschool. They know about the test score gains that occur. And as a result of universal preschool, they are more likely to be interested in moving to a community. And when they think about whether or not to move out of a community, they're more likely to do so because of the universal preschool program. So this property value benefit occurs for all property owners in the community. You don't have to be a parent to benefit from this. So, for example, if an empty nester is interested in selling their home, they are more likely to find a parent who is interested in buying the home, and that's going to tend to push up property values. So the bottom line is this: when we invest in universal preschool, when a school district does that, it not only benefits the children in the preschool and their parents, but also benefits everyone in the community in a variety of ways, including higher property values. When it comes to universal preschool, we're all in this together. Thank you.